Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
All right, hello Night Nation. Tonight we are coming from Burger U. It is Knightline 119. It's very exciting to be here doing this. We're just doing a test at Burger U. It's live on YouTube right now, so if you're tuned in or you can be tuned in, whatever, it's all good. I'm hoping you're enjoying it. Anyway, so joining me as always is
Trace Trolko. Hello, everyone.
All right, and a very special guest.
Why am I here? I'm just
Jeff Sharon, folks. Jeff Sharon.
What's up?
So, yeah.
Yes, Jeff Sharon joins us for our Knights of the Roundtable discussion. Jeff Sharon, of course, of the Black and Gold Banneret. We announce our UCF Fantasy Football Challenge, plus we are answering your questions during Ask Knightline. But first, as Andrew mentioned, we are in our
like you did.
You know what? I think I may have totally cut that section out. But let's do that again. Crap. It's live. We're testing this system. I thought that I could do something there. Dang it. Okay. Well, it's live, so that's what it is what it is. So let's do that again. Knightline 119 is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. 386-690-1636. I wonder what else we left out of that. So let's just start over. Welcome to Knightline 119. We are doing this from Burger U. I don't know what people heard, so it is what it is.
Burger U, our new home on campus for Knightline Postgame Live, where we will be after every home UCF football game. We will be going live on YouTube 30 minutes after the game and taking your calls. Plus, we hope, opportunity to talk with fans that are gathering here at Burger U, give you an opportunity to talk about what you just saw during each of UCF's home games. And, of course, for a second season, we will also be live after every road game. So you're going to hear us 12, hopefully 13 times with a bowl game, maybe 14 if there's a conference championship game involved. How about that?
This is impressive, man. We are like behind the ball with you guys. I'm really impressed with this.
Well,
congratulations.
It is what
Holy smokes.
Yeah, well, we worked on this for quite a while. I worked on this. Trace and I both worked on this. So it's kind of a big deal. I'm glad that we're getting to test this. It is kind of a big deal. It's all new technology and stuff for us. So I've got this whole little command post thing that I've got set up in front of me.
It looks a lot better out here than it did in the 1148 studios.
Yeah.
So now it's
a lot more compact. Although I miss like the guitars.
Yeah.
You know, the bass guitar that I want to just pull off your wall and start like ripping off some stuff from like the Police and everything.
Yeah, so I guess it's all working. So
cool.
I guess we should move on with the rest of everything that we were going to do here.
Well, it's all starting to get real. We were at Media Day on Wednesday.
Yes.
They have had Fan Fest. Coach Osborne, legendary Coach Osborne, spoke at the kickoff luncheon. Let's talk a little bit more about Media Day and some observations. Coach Frost addressing the media for about a half an hour. What were your thoughts on his demeanor and what he had to say?
Yeah, Jeff, you were there too. So
well, first of all, before I get to that, thank you guys once again for having myself. Eric Lopez wishes he could be here. He couldn't make it, but he sends his regards. And this is going to be a fun season for all of us, which your listeners will find out more about. Our listeners will find out more about very soon. As far as Media Day is concerned, like we always look at it like, you know, it's like the first day of school, except less exciting.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
I was going back to Scott Frost's press conference. I mean, pretty much, you know, they had scrimmaged that day before. it was, just like every other media. I thought it was extremely well run by the way, the folks, Andy Seeley and everybody at UCF. It was
Absolutely.
really well run. I thought it was the best that I've ever been to. Scott seems like it's obvious. It was obvious to me that everybody is no longer on the learning curve, right? There's always that sort of learning how to ride a bike quality when you're a first-year staff. All the players are getting adjusted to you. All the players are getting adjusted to the system. You're getting adjusted to the players. You're getting adjusted to how this school does media relations and all that kind of stuff. That's all gone by the wayside. I thought that press conference was really rapid fire.
I thought it was the most candid that he has been in his addresses to the media.
Well, insofar
he talked
as
about
Scott
things
Frost
that
is candid.
Well, but true.
Yeah.
But the most that I have seen him, because he acknowledged where he saw some weaknesses.
Yeah, and I think that those weaknesses were what we expected coming into the season. There were going to be some questions on the offensive line, particularly in the guard positions. The secondary was always going to be, I thought coming into this year, the biggest question mark, considering that they lost everyone from last year. They've actually filled in a couple of those positions a little bit pretty well. I think that they had a couple guys that they knew, like Trey Neal, for example, who were going to come in and fill the positions left by the guys who graduated last year, but they're still a little bit worried about the corner. We just got the transfer, actually, the JUCO transfer who played at North Carolina this past week. I forget his name, I'm sorry, but he's going to have a chance to start. Pretty quick turnaround for him, but yeah, he was pretty candid about, the weaknesses that were there, but that's obvious because everyone on the field knows it, and it's just sort of the message out there saying, hey, look, this is where we got to get better.
He didn't gloss over it, so I thought that was at least an acknowledgement on his part that he, like us, recognized the challenges that exist for the team. He was also pretty candid about where the quarterback race was.
Yeah, he was pretty straightforward on Mackenzie Milton, that Mackenzie's the guy right now.
Which I don't consider to be a surprise.
No, it shouldn't be, considering that Pete, remember, Pete DeNovo is no longer on the team.
Yeah.
He was the only returning quarterback that we had. He's got the two freshmen with Noah Vedral and Daryl Mack, but they're true freshmen.
Right.
So even though that both of those guys in terms of physical stature are much larger than Mackenzie Milton, running similar offenses in high school, he's the guy who has the year underneath his belt, and rightfully so. He's kind of the leader in the clubhouse right now, to use a golf term.
Yeah, and I did joke around a little bit, obviously, about the Pete DeNovo thing. I mean, honestly, when Mackenzie Milton was supposedly off on this Hawaiian thing that he did, if that actually happened, where he went away from the team and all that stuff, that's why I was saying I thought Pete DeNovo was going to start. I thought maybe he was in the doghouse, with Frost and the rest of the coaching staff. I thought he was probably in the doghouse with the rest of the players, so you never know. And that's why I was saying that. Obviously, though, Mackenzie Milton is the guy at this point, and, I think that he's better. So let's hear from Mackenzie Milton, though, real quick on that subject.
We talked to you at Media Day last year. It was a long line for Justin Holman, and we caught up with you. What were your expectations going into last season at Media Day? How much playing time did you think you'd get? What role did you think you'd play for the team a year ago?
Oh, at that time last year, I was told I was probably going to redshirt. And then Justin had an early season injury, and Coach Frost and the rest of the coaching staff thought it'd be in the team's best interest for me to get put in that starting role. So I guess you can kind of say I was thrown into a fire, but it was a lot of fun and it was a good learning experience.
From high school ball to that, talk about the speed of the game and how your first start, how did that feel?
Yeah, obviously the speed's a lot faster. You got to be a lot quicker with your eyes and with your feet. Excuse me. But I think at the same time, you have players that are a lot faster on your own team, and kind of combats for that. So it wasn't too bad, I guess, but it was a lot of fun.
Coach Frost praised you, saying you've made a lot of improvements. How do you look at your performance since the season ended? Where have you improved the most?
I would say with just growing with my eyes, getting through my progressions a little quicker, and knowing when to get off things fast and get into the right spots. I would also say that in the read option game that we've gotten a lot better too as a unit.
Leaders come in different forms and fashions. What kind of leader are you in the huddle and in the locker room?
I try to be someone that leads by action rather than, I wouldn't say I'm really a rah-rah guy, but I don't know, I try to just look at myself as one of the guys on the team and just be there for the team. And if something needs to be said, then I'll speak up when time is necessary.
Coach Ross has made a big deal out of the fact that he's tired of hearing about 0 wins to 6. What's your mindset with it? It was a big leap, but are you satisfied with that level of winning?
No, not at all. I think this team as a whole feels that we're capable of winning a lot more games than that. So whatever happens in the season will happen, and we just got to take it one day at a time, one game at a time.
All right, thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so that was Mackenzie Milton. I just played the entire, interview that we did with him, just, so we had the whole thing, and you could hear those, clips in context and all that. So,
well, jumping around in our Ask Knightline segment, where we take your questions via Twitter, Facebook, Michael had said, do you think Milton possesses enough leadership ability at the quarterback position? And he adds, he seems too laid back for my liking. I replied to him that we were going to hear from Mackenzie during the show, and that's what Andrew just played. I think that's still a question when you hear him. He says he's not a rah-rah guy. What kind of leader is he in the huddle? Is he the right leader for this team?
I don't think if you're a quarterback you can be a rah-rah guy. Name the last rah-rah guy who was a real champion-level quarterback. I can't think of one. I mean, maybe Jim McMahon. I mean, what I'm saying is,
well, would you put a Jameis Winston in the category of a rah-rah type of player at Florida State,
field,
or Deshaun Watson? I mean, there's got to be a calmness and a coolness to the leadership in the huddle.
That's
but
what I
he's
would
got
want.
a laid-back style. Is that the kind of leadership that UCF needs?
Based on the limited sample size that we've seen, I would prefer that leadership style, because the quarterback can't get too high and he can't get too low. And I think that's the case for them. And when things are going bad, and at times in the second half of the season, as we knew last year, things did kind of go a little bit south. Mackenzie, I think, got tired. He also got beat up a lot. He was running for his life so much. You got to be the guy that comes back and says, hey, guys, don't worry about it. We got this. We're fine. Let's just get the next one. Let's just get the next one.
I think
that's what I would prefer to see.
Yeah, and I think that he's so laid back, and I think, being from Hawaii, we've said it over and over again, I think that is a good thing in a way, just because he's so laid back. And I think Scott Frost has said before, he forgets about stuff. He forgets about stuff. Once a play's done, he forgets about that last play, short memory. And that's what quarterbacks, really need to have, is that short memory. So,
yeah, I agree with you on that too, Andrew, because –
and I think that helps him being from, Hawaii and having that laid-back lifestyle, because that makes that whole thing just easier for him.
I mean, assuming that's the case. Like, I mean,
we know
back
that
in Hawaii, but
we know that when we talk to him, though,
right.
that he's
I
very
have no
back.
problem with that. I think that the biggest issue that he's going to run into is something that he can't control, and that's his size.
Yeah,
he's 5'11", 170 pounds.
He's been dealing with that in his entire football career, though.
That's true. But when you're playing at this level and you're getting whacked around by 6'3" defensive linemen, it takes its toll. We saw how much it took its toll on him last year. He knew that going in. Everyone else knew that going in. My question is, if things do break down, if there are injuries on the offensive line, for example, is he going to have that same kind of trouble? Is he going to hold up physically throughout the remainder of the season? Because let's not forget, we're going to be seeing him running around a lot. He's going to take his share of hits. He's going to have his share of rushing attempts as well, because that's how this offense works.
Right.
So can he withstand that throughout the entire season? That's my one main concern.
One of the questions I asked him and that you heard was what he had worked on in the offseason. And a couple weeks back on Ask Knightline, and Andrew, you answered this question, was when will we know? And you said it'll be in game one. After the first couple of series, you're going to know whether that offseason work and there had been progress. So
right. Yeah. I think you're going to see it right off the bat, because, Scott Frost doesn't want to come out and be, real vanilla and real, laid back. He wants to come out and, score on that first drive. Yeah. I think that is very important, for them to come out and do that. The very first drive, to go down there and score and say, we're here, we're back, this is our house, this is the way it's going to be.
But they also got to be a little bit careful because you don't want to give too much of the tape away to Memphis for
That's
next
true.
week. See, that's the
true.
thing.
So yeah, you may
there's
see a little bit of that.
They may crank it up to 8. They're not going to crank it up to 11.
No.
And on that point,
and there's going to be different stuff, that can come out of that as well. So.
Right. Another one of those Ask Nightline questions that we got was from Andrew, who prefaced saying, season opener against FIU hopefully won't present us with any difficulty. Should Coach Frost use this game to see how some of the freshmen or newer players look, provided we have the game under control, or should we keep the starters in as long as possible to give them as many reps as possible in preparation for Memphis? So I thought that was an interesting question that our buddy online Facebook question from Andrew.
Yeah. So are we going to talk about that question?
Well, I threw that.
now?
Yeah, I threw that question in just because of what we're talking about there. How much of what we see against FIU is going to be the real.
I think all of it is prep for Memphis.
Yeah, but if we're up 45-10 on FIU in the third quarter, it's because the starters played pretty well. Go ahead and pull them; they're fine.
Yeah.
That's how I would look at it.
I wouldn't want to risk any injury in that game down the stretch.
Well, you don't.
I think you get what you get.
Right.
If you get that lead, other guys need reps.
If you get the lead, let's not forget that FIU is.
I think we've seen Scott Frost do that, though.
Yeah.
Like, once we get up on the score, they'll, pull the starters out and let some other people play. It's even a better idea in that situation, with the FIU game. So.
Well, let's not forget, FIU's coming in. They have a new head coach in Butch Davis. All those of us who are from Florida, we know how good of a coach Butch Davis is. How talented is that team? We're not 100% sure.
Yeah, we have no
idea.
But
they will be well coached.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit worried about, are they going to punch above their weight class on us? That's what I'm concerned about in that game. Hopefully not, but I just wouldn't be surprised.
Right. All right. Well, we have all these clips that we took from Media Day. So one of the biggest things that I think that we've been talking about and people have had questions about was Tyler Hudanik. You've mentioned him a million times as far as that goes.
I just believe that when he went down, it just changed things from the offensive line standpoint.
And I can't remember, to be honest with you, if I put the whole thing with Tyler or just a clip. But let's hear what Tyler had to say to us the other day.
I would never wish this upon anybody, me having an injury like I did. And the way I felt just watching the season end and the way the team kind of finished up the year. But I'll be back, no doubt. I'm ready, excited for this year, recovering, almost fully there, and be ready to go for the first game. And kind of over this injury and ready to be back out there with the guys, which I've been out there this camp doing my thing, and excited to help the offensive line and this offense roll.
All right, so you heard it right there. He's excited to get back. He wouldn't have wished that upon – nobody would wish any of that upon anybody anyway, but
it's
he's
tough coming back from a knee injury.
It sounds to me like he's back. It sounds to me like he's ready to play. So we'll see.
Except further into the interview, he said, maybe not FIU. Maybe they hold me back for Memphis. He wants to play, and it was Juan Toribio, Knights 24/7 last week, who said maybe 3 or 4 games. So Tyler's a little more optimistic than Juan's reporting, but will we see him in game 1? Maybe we don't need to see him in game 1.
One of the other big questions is the defense. Especially the defensive secondary. Mm-hmm. But here's what Scott Frost had to say the other day about the defense.
I think our defense is right where we need it to be right now. We have a lot more depth on the defensive side this year. We have our entire D-line back. I think all those guys have improved and are playing well. Shaquem has been a terror on the field. He's been a great leader. Sean Burgess-Becker has done good things behind him. Deidreon Bacote and Titus are both doing really good things in boundary outside. Inside backers look great. Pat and Shaquan are playing really well, but Nate Evans and Gabe Luanda can come in and play and give us absolutely no drop-off. We have depth across the board. Coach Chins has those guys playing hard. They're moving and banging and stunting and blitzing and pressuring. Makes it hard on our offensive line as they're trying to learn, but it's good from the standpoint that they're not going to see many looks that are harder than some of the ones they're getting from our defense.
And yes, I edited a lot of ums out of there. If you didn't notice, he only said it once or twice. But anyway, I just wanted to.
He got his point across.
Yeah.
If you do a drinking game during Nightline on the ums, you won't drink very much.
That's why I drink water.
He's very pesky about the.
Well, I say
ums.
it a lot, and especially in a live situation. Of course, I'm going to say it a lot more, and I'm sure people will point that out to me. But Anyway, another thing that I really liked that Scott Frost had to say is he talked about the culture of the team. Listen to this clip.
The culture in this program is getting better every day. When I first got here, I met with every player on the roster, and one of the most common responses that I got when I asked what needed to improve was the companionship and feeling of team. Didn't sound like the DB spent much time with the O-line or the running backs with the linebackers. Our team has pulled closer together. Our guys understand what's expected of them and the standards that we have in this program. Starting to see culture keepers where the old guys are training the young guys to do the right things and to know not just what to do but how to do it. Once we get the culture established like that, then I think that it'll carry over from class to class and generation of players to generation. This team is a lot closer this year, a lot more tightly knit, and I think that potentially could get us over the hump in some close games.
I think that's one of the most important things that Scott Frost said the other day during the media day was that. And I think that that's one of the most important things because that culture allows you to, keep kids under control a little bit. They're not going to have, huge problems outside of the football program, or inside of the football program. I think that that's really going to help when he builds a culture like that.
Culture off the field is directly proportional to chemistry on the field.
Absolutely.
That's
100%.
one of the things that that is so underrated in every team sport is chemistry. And in football in particular, it can kind of get tough because you can have chemistry on one side of the ball and not on the other.
Absolutely.
And 2 years ago, we saw all the finger pointing. And then the finger pointing led to we saw guys just quit.
They gave up. Completely
quit.
I've
and
heard
they felt that the coaching staff quit on them too.
Right.
So this year it is a lot different. And now that they understand, like, look, we were behind the 8 ball much of the year last year, and I think it's, and obviously Coach Frost won't say this. Like, he'll say 6 and 7, I'm not happy with that, and neither should these guys be happy with that. And every indication shows that they're not. They're not interested in, I think he had another bite in there. I don't know if you have it, but where he talked about how they had a guest speaker come in, and he said, okay.
I don't have it, but I remember that.
But yeah, you remember this. So he said, this guest speaker came in and they said, "Wow, hey guys, you went from 0-12 to 6 and 7. Great job." And the players were like, they just sat there. They're like, "Yeah, we're not all that happy with that."
Right.
And that comes. And when everyone's on the same page on that, that's where you get that camaraderie and that chemistry on the field. That's what I want to see. Is because there are going to be times this year where we're going to see. The offense is going to struggle. The defense is going to struggle. Who's the guy from one side of the ball that comes up to the guy on the other side of the ball as they're changing positions and says, "Hey, don't worry about this. We got it."
Right.
That's what I want to see.
I've heard this quote before in a different way. George O'Leary used to say he didn't want a team of me guys.
Yeah.
He wanted a team
of
we
guys.
guys.
That's a perfect
example.
example.
This is a variation of the same theme.
But
except
easier
at the end
said
of the
than done,
O'Leary era, it stopped being a we.
Easier said than done, though.
That's
the
a
thing.
perfect example, and I was thinking about that when that clip was playing. George O'Leary built a wonderful culture here and kept everybody out of trouble for the most part, except, J.J. Warden running from cops. And
that could happen to
anyway,
anybody.
Yeah,
okay, that could
have happened to anybody. But anyway, so for the most part, though, George O'Leary built a very nice culture here, and a lot of people, I think, were worried about that culture going away just because George was here for so long and he was so strong on that.
It was a different kind of culture, though.
It was.
Considering that I've said this before, George O'Leary was the last 20th century coach.
Right.
Scott Frost is the 21st century coach.
Right.
And
but you still have to build some culture.
And I think the way that you build that culture, and one of the things that you build that legitimacy with is, you talked before about the situation with J.J. Wharton, but what's the that you can build a culture that has guys that don't get in trouble, okay? But that's pretty hard to do. These are still college kids. A lot of them are immature, okay? It's easy for us to forget that. What happens when someone gets in trouble? Do you play your cards so that, they get like a second chance? Do they do that? Or do you say, look, I don't care if you're the best player on our team. I don't care if you're a Heisman Trophy candidate. If you break this rule, you're out. Go somewhere else. We don't want you here. That's not how we do it. And that's how I think within ranks, you can defend players on the outside. What happens on the inside of the house? We have no way of actually really telling that until we actually see them play on the field. That's
true.
what I want to know.
Well, and Coach Frost spoke of one of the first conversations he had was with Shaquem Griffin, who talked about the need for greater camaraderie amongst the players. So this theme is carried on for his first year plus now.
Speaking of that,
well, they all remember how toxic it was 2 years ago,
Speaking of that, I have a clip right here. Speaking of Shaquem Griffin, I have a clip from Scott Frost about Shaquem Griffin, and he says just that you talked about in it.
The first time I saw Shaquem was in my office. He was one of the ones that told me the team needed to be closer together and more united. Probably the next time I saw him was out doing mat drills in the winter, going through agility drills. It was obvious to me on day one that he was a special athlete. I think he long jumped almost 25 feet in high school. He could move, he could run, he could change direction. I didn't know how he could function with one hand, to be honest with you. And the amazing thing is, after about 2 practices, you forget that that's even an issue. It just never shows up. I haven't seen one play on the field that he should have made but couldn't because he's got one hand. He's a special kid. I think there's a little more grit inside him because of who he is and what he's been through. And he's one of our leaders and one of the guys we're counting on. I wish I could show everybody in here a few of his plays from practice. His effort is just relentless. It'd be real easy for a guy who was Conference Player of the Year last year to kind of take it easy and make sure he's healthy going into game one. He's done it the way you want him to do it. He's been the hardest working player on our practice field every day out here. And there's some guys that have maybe tied him, but I don't know if anybody's worked harder. That says a lot about who he is, his love for the game, and his drive to be great.
All right, so that was Scott Frost on Shaquem.
High praise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, high praise.
And he has to. I mean, Shaquem has done everything that Shaquem needed to do. All he has to do is do that on the field this year, and I think that he's going to do that, and he's going to make a lot of money.
He's a human magnet.
Absolutely.
Like everyone gravitates
Both
toward him.
Both of those guys are.
And
Both his brother and him.
Yeah, and the reason why is because he's proven it time and time again. He's not just a guy who's like a rah-rah guy and then goes out there and doesn't back up that talk. The players around him know like how hard he's worked to get to that position, and he knows how difficult his job is this year, even more so than it was last year, because of the fact that he's now the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. The secret's out. So offenses are going to be keying on him, keeping an eye on him and run and pass.
Yeah, no surprise anymore.
Yeah.
No. So here we talked to him actually, and here's what he had to say as well.
My whole thing is just not to settle for less and not to settle for what I already done. My whole thing was this offseason was to get bigger, get faster, get better at my craft, and learn from my mistakes from last year. And last year was a good year, but this year can be much better. And being able to execute on everything. And my goal was to have a perfect camp. I didn't want to have a bad day. I didn't want to say I messed up on this play. And it's important, and being able to stay in the facility and being able to look at what I done in each practice, I was always a step ahead each day. So now I have 2 more days left, and if I do good these last 2 days, I can finally say I had a perfect camp. I didn't mess up on such and such plays. I was able to help my team get better. I was able to contribute. I was able to run to the ball. I was able to give extra effort. And that's important when you have guys who's willing to. You say, what, I'm not gonna. I had a good day yesterday. I'm gonna kind of take off a couple snaps or kind of slow down this day. My whole thing was to go fast every day because in the game it's gonna be so much easier. And I gave it all my God. I made sure I was tired. And I remember after one practice, Coach Frost brought us up, and I just started throwing up when we was in the huddle. And that's just a sign of I'm willing to get everything I got every play. And there's no reason why the young guys or any of my other teammates can do the same.
All right, so he's ready to go.
That's us after a Nightline, isn't it?
Yeah,
Hurling, we've given it all we've got.
That's a huge responsibility though, because everyone, because he's basically the designated leader of that side of the ball. It's easy for us to forget, like all the guys are looking toward him. So if he's not giving 110%, it's like there's a permission structure for the other guys not to. So that's a lot of pressure on a kid.
Well, on the flip there, when you give as much as he's giving,
yeah.
We're on campus at Burger U recording tonight. We're not far from dorms, and we're not far from the Wayne Dench building, and that's where Shaquem is residing during camp. When you see someone willing to give that level of commitment, that enjoys the game of football that much, how can you slack off in practice?
Yeah, it's like, what's your excuse, right?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to him having a great season, and he can be as good as as much of a revelation as he was last year. You're right, Andrew. I think you mentioned that he could be making himself a lot of money on Sundays.
Oh, he's going to. I know he is.
We know we know he has bulked up, which is a good thing because he's going to have to throw off a lot more blocks this year from oncoming offensive linemen. He had to get bigger. Whatever he can do to improve his speed, I think that's going to be key. And he has a lot more responsibility on him because, like we said before, very young secondary, not very experienced back there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and people are going to be gunning from him. They're going to try to take him out of the game even more than they did last year. A couple people tried last year a couple times, but they were never very effective in getting him out of the game.
But
so.
Now that's all on film, and everyone's going to be watching it. I think
right.
that's going to be – always what you put on the tape.
It's always hard after a year like, he had last year to come and do that again. So I think that's the last of the clips.
A lot of good clips.
Yeah,
they were really good clips. Well done.
I had one more. I don't know if we want to hear. I said, I don't know if we want to hear that one or not. It was Scott Frost talking about Milton. Do you guys want to hear that one?
Sure.
What do you got?
This is the one that I have not played yet.
I think McKenzie's grown up. He's hitting a lot of the easy throws that he missed last year. I think his mechanics are improved. His familiarity with the offense is improved. He's made significant strides since last year. We kind of threw him into the fire last year. We had no intention of playing him last year until we had an injury at the quarterback position. And he suffered through some good times and some bad times last year. Hopefully he's learned from that, and he'll be that much more ready to go this year.
Let's hope.
All right.
Let's hope.
From your lips to God's ears, Coach. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So that's it for the clips.
August 31st, we're going to get to see that boy. Well, as much as I enjoy you being with us, Jeff, Sharon from the Black and Gold Banneret, I'm ready for some football. We've been talking about this thing for weeks.
Absolutely.
Feels like it crept up on us real quick, though, didn't it?
Well, media day sort of, all that sort of comes. Reminding that is August 31st. It's the home opener dubbed First Frost, where white country singer Luke Combs. Right? Luke Combs
I don't have the clip, but we played a clip last week.
Is going to headline UCF's first
like
pre-game concert before that FIU game.
So. Unfortunately, it's 4 o'clock on a Thursday. That's really a bummer as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. They should have made it after this game or something. I don't know.
Well, they're hoping for a big student turnout. That's why they moved that game on that weekend to a Thursday. So the students should have plenty of time to go out there, tailgate, and enjoy the concert.
I'll tell you why they moved that game. Memphis is playing their first game of the season on Thursday as well. Initially, this game was scheduled for Saturday. They didn't want to give Memphis an extra 2 days to prepare, so they worked a deal out with CBS where UCF is playing in one game at 6 o'clock on Thursday. So UCF is playing in the first game on Thursday. It's a primetime doubleheader. UCF is the first game. Memphis is the second game. Both teams have an equal amount of time to prepare for that Week 2 game, which is your conference opener, and Memphis is supposed to be good this year. So that's going to be a big, huge game right out of the gate.
Right. It is.
Smart move by the coaching staff.
It is.
Let's not look forward to Week 2 just yet.
Yeah.
Let's just get week one.
We need to get Week 1 out of
It's going to happen real quick.
So for a little bit of fun with you here,
okay,
kind of like a Knights of the Round Table. You like that?
Let's do it.
Random questions that I have in my UCF replica helmet. You pull the first one.
Listen, I have one of these, but it's a New York Giants one, and it's like 20 years old. All right, so let's shake this thing up. Here.
I might have to wear that helmet now that I know that you have. I might have to wear that during.
I don't think that's going to fit your head.
With my, I don't know. My headphones probably wouldn't.
Be careful.
Yeah, it would fit. It would fit.
It was easy. Right?
All right, here's the first one I picked. Will UCF have more rushing or passing touchdowns this season?
Well, I mean, if it all works out, I think obviously that's passing, because in this system, it's down the field. I'm
going to beg to differ.
Ooh, really?
I think it's going to be rushing touchdowns, and I'll tell you why. Go back and look at that at any Oregon game when Scott Frost was the offensive coordinator. And I said this a bunch last year. People think it's a high-flying, passing, running shoot offense. It's a rushing offense.
It is.
It's not a ball control offense.
Right.
But it's a fast-paced, running offense. So I think we're going to have more rushing TDs
and we
this
said
year.
that a lot before when we were talking about it before.
Yeah.
And
the problem was last
our
year.
Offensive line was
the offensive line had not quite adjusted to that pace of play.
Right.
Now they're adjusted. So
and
that's what I'm
Jawan
looking forward to.
Hamilton, did you see him at Media Day? He looks like a freaking beast. I mean,
saw
it's
him. He bulked up.
Yeah.
And
he's
to
ready to
Adrian
go,
Killens,
too.
he looks like he's ready to go. Get him out on the outside. We saw flashes of it when it would work. And when it worked, you guys remember, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, in the FIU game last year, I think of that one when we scored 50-some points on FIU.
It was going in both directions.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Rushing
please,
and
more of this.
Rushing and passing was working.
So if we have a good season, I think it'll be more rushing than passing.
Okay.
And I think if it is a good season and we see those rushing plays, it's going to take a tremendous amount of pressure off Mackenzie Milton.
Yes.
Right?
I actually probably agree with you now.
Yeah.
Remembering honestly what went on at Oregon, and it wasn't the.
Think back to Marcus Mariota and some of those other guys, like who was the running back who was kind of like, who was the real speedster that was back there.
I can't remember his name.
I can see him too. He wore number 1, but yeah, I think it'll be more rushing. I hope it's more rushing.
All right,
go for it.
Random.
If
draw.
I was Scott Frost, I would change blank.
Oh man!
Wow, I don't even know. If I was Scott Frost, I would change blank. Oh boy, I'm.
Gosh,
that's a good question, Trace, that you came up with there.
I feel like
because he was
second
guessed in his first season, right? For play calling and timing and maybe some loyalty to Mackenzie Milton as the season wore along.
I thought that those criticisms weren't fair though, because you switch out Mackenzie Milton late in the season for Justin Holman, and God bless Justin for all the for the career that he had here at UCF. But the evidence was there. Justin Holman was a square peg in a round hole.
Absolutely.
It just wasn't going to work.
It didn't change the line. It was the same line at that point in the season.
Okay, I got one. And this has to do purely with the fans.
Okay.
If I was Scott Frost, I would change the ability for fans to come and watch practices.
Oh, there you go.
That's it right there. Just because I really enjoyed that and I miss that now.
Yeah.
O'Leary would
Nobody
let
else
people,
does that.
I know.
We were spoiled
right.
for so many years
we were
George O'Leary.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the question,
I would change.
I like it.
I would be on the TV show every week. I would like to see him more. I mean, I understand, that they want to, spread things out a little bit, but I like seeing my coach out there on the weekly coaches show every single time.
And does he do the lunch thing like George O'Leary used to do? He doesn't do that either.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see him do a little bit
All
more
right.
of
Dovetailing off of that, I'd like to see
I don't blame him. I just,
a greater connection to UCF.
I think he's built think about where we are right now with this team. I think that the connection right now is pretty strong. It's just that we need the wins to show for it.
Right.
If this team wins and challenges for a conference title, we're going to start seeing that stadium over there.
Were you here last night by chance for the what do they call it?
For the Fan Fest? Unfortunately, no, I didn't make it.
I wasn't here either, but the pictures that I saw,
good turnout,
was probably
very good turnout. That's what I did see too.
The most people that I've ever seen at one of those events before, and if that is any, I can't remember the word.
Well, there was a
indication.
If that's any indication of what is going to be with the fan support,
I
that's
think
pretty good.
Under George O'Leary, there was almost an adversarial relationship between the team and the fans.
Right.
That's gone.
Right.
That, I think, is the most important
Seriously,
thing.
though, or part of his jokey demeanor? Was he really antagonistic seriously, or was that George?
Who?
George. That was part of his shtick.
Well, it was part of his shtick.
Maybe didn't translate to the casual fan.
But fans take it seriously. I mean, we had games out here where, I'm convinced that we would have had 5,000 more people a game when we were winning, because there were a number of people who just didn't like him and didn't want to support him. The door is now open, I think.
All right, next question. Here we go.
And this is yours, right?
Mine.
Okay.
Best story in camp. Out of camp. Best story out of camp.
Well,
hands down.
That's obvious.
Shaquem Griffin moving in.
Yes.
Okay, best story in camp that's not Shaquem Griffin.
Noah Vedral.
Noah Vedral. Yeah, I'd give you that one.
Okay.
the pure ability and the research that he did and the studying that he did made that
Nebraska kid, by the
Nebraska kid.
Don't think for a second that's not lost on Scott
Oh,
Frost,
absolutely
fellow
not.
Nebraska native.
Work ethic?
No.
The work ethic of the Nebraska kid?
I can't wait to see him personally.
Knock on wood, no significant injuries that we've been made aware of.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, that's another
Is a positive.
one. Yeah,
okay,
big.
we got time,
All right,
Andrew, for
we
a
got
couple
time for
more?
another
Sure,
one?
yeah.
All right.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
When UCF plays the Cows at the end of the regular season,
Who
the
was that
starting
you were talking about?
quarterback.
Oh, you got the cow. You brought the cow with you
Yeah,
to
I brought
Burger
the
U.
cow.
Well,
The
at a place called Burger U, you
Yeah.
need to have you need to have
This-
the cow music.
Just in case we wanted to remind everyone of what they're eating. When UCF plays USF at the end of the regular season, the starting quarterback will be blank.
Mackenzie Milton. He's
Agreed.
going to have a great year. It doesn't mean he will play every snap. We will see that second quarterback. I hope it's as injury-free as possible, but he's going to take us to that game.
I'm hoping it's Mackenzie Milton.
For that big knock him out of any.
Yeah.
I hope that
contention.
it's going to be Mackenzie Milton as well, but I'm going to say it's going to be Noah Vedral.
Wow.
Just because I have a feeling at some point, I just have a feeling. I don't think that this is going to be the year that Mackenzie Milton puts it all together and that he's changed anything that he had problems with.
Well, I told you guys this earlier. I'm worried about injury.
And he's susceptible to injury because he's small.
He survived last year with all of the problems on the offensive line. While he wasn't 100%,
Right.
he still was there.
I'm not
going to
say how many games that I think that it's going to be until we see Noah Vedral in that position, but I think we're going to at some point, and I don't think it's going to be because of an injury.
Even though Mackenzie last year towards the end wasn't injured, you could tell just watching him, especially I thought in the bowl game, that he was hurt.
I like this one. I just drew another one here. Should UCF honor former athletics director Todd Stansbury at the Georgia Tech game?
Credit to Brandon Helwig of UCFsports.com who posted that in the Dungeon message board. It's an open question.
Absolutely not.
100% not.
100% not. There's no reason to honor a UCF or an athletic director that left and went someplace else, even if it is to his alma mater. For any reason whatsoever, he's not a part of what's going on here anymore. Yes, he built not the dungeon, but he built the cabana over there. None of his coaches are here really anymore, except a couple.
I would
maybe the softball coach.
It wasn't his hire.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't quite feel as strongly about this. I mean, it's like. We're not going to see him.
There's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason.
This would have been the game to recognize George O'Leary.
Right.
This would have been, by the way, the game to do the statue unveiling. Not have done it last year.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I hope George is back for this game.
I would hope that he does come back for this game.
I think he'll be more warmly received now than he was a year ago.
I think so. I don't know why that whole thing went down the way it did with the statue, but I would hope that this is the proper time to give him the reception I think that he deserves for the 10 years that he was here.
If they recognize Stansbury, what sort of applause does he get? Lukewarm.
Golf claps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have time for one more?
One more.
One more. All right, pulling it out. One
There's
more question.
There's a lot of good ones in here that we're not going to get to.
These are good questions, yeah.
UCF will win blank games this year. That's a good one. 8.
7.
Okay, so we'll pin the over-under at 7.5.
Yeah, there you go.
You've been saying 7 for a while. That
yeah.
You wanted to see.
Okay.
You wanted to see 7.
Now, okay, here's my question, though. Will that, at the end of the season, be considered a disappointment or progress?
Depends on how they play.
Depends on which
Depends on if we win the bowl game. I've been saying that from the beginning. That is the thing that makes it, all successful.
Okay,
going to a bowl game.
Does 8 include a win over the Tampa school? That's how does that 8 comprise?
But let's say it's 8, and you win the bowl game over someone from the Sun Belt.
You got to win the bowl game.
Or 8 if you lose the bowl game to
I was
Georgia.
Thinking regular season 7. So 8,
okay.
8 would be
the bowl.
Yeah.
What if you play an ACC team in the bowl game like Miami and you
I don't
lose?
care who we beat in a bowl game, to be honest with you. I just want to win a bowl game and put what happened last year out of the conversation.
We got beat by a better team last year, I thought, in the bowl.
Right,
yeah.
but in our hometown. That whole deal was an embarrassment. The whole entire thing was an embarrassment as far as I'm concerned.
Let's wash that from our memories.
Yeah.
All right, so
horrible.
that was Knights of the Round Table.
Yep.
That was pretty good. Some good questions. All right, we are debuting this week. You can play this along. You want to see what the other questions were in the helmet?
Other ones are.
We are debuting a season-long challenge. Knightline versus the Banneret, UCF Fantasy, a fantasy football challenge that goes like this. Each of us will pick one player on offense, one player on defense. We're going to do this every week. We're going to talk about it on our shows. For offensive players, 1 point for every 10 yards, rushing and receiving, 5 points for a touchdown scored. If you pick a quarterback, you only get points for what that person does rushing and receiving. So you don't get the touchdown passes. But if they happen to run a touchdown, if you start that person, it's the running and the receiving.
So Eric and I, we are each going to pick one offense and one defense, or we have one offense and one defense total for us?
No, we each pick one of each.
Okay.
So
each of us get to pick somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, our collective team.
Okay,
we'll decide.
Knightline versus Banneret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for defensive players, 1 point for every tackle, 5 points for a sack, interception or forced fumble, 5 points for a touchdown score.
Yep.
So, with that having been said, and what's the stakes for this? Dinner,
I think you said it. Steaks.
Yeah.
Steaks? Okay.
Steaks.
All right, so I've got this.
Does Burger U serve a steak?
I don't know. We'll have to check on that. They have
All right,
wonderful,
They've got
wonderful
chicken.
Steak
burgers.
sandwiches.
though.
I'm sure they got like a Philly cheesesteak
their
sandwich.
burgers.
You're
are
our
incredible.
guest. So
Okay.
here's our coin from the 50th anniversary of UCF.
Yes, all right, so-
with the fountain on the front, that's heads.
So, gentlemen, in here,
This is for the first pick, which you'll talk about on your show this week.
This even
and
sounds like a stadium, right? It's like, gentlemen, this is heads. This is tails. Who's calling it? I'm calling it. All right.
Well, you're flipping,
I'm flipping. Oh, wait, who's calling it?
Andrew.
Okay.
And-
Heads.
Okay. Oh, wait. This is heads.
Heads is the
The
fountain.
Okay.
reflection pond is heads. Tails is the UCF 50.
Okay.
Okay. So
Heads.
you call heads.
Oh, he dropped the coin.
It's
that would
tails.
Be tails.
Tails.
It's tails.
So you
You
have
verify it's tails, yeah.
you have
So
the first
we
pick,
have the first pick. Okay.
which we're going to have to go back and forth on during the week. You talk about it on your show. We'll talk
Right.
about it next week, and then that'll give fans.
Do you want me to pick now?
No.
Okay,
Talk
all
about
right.
it.
Oh,
over
we're
there.
picking later. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but
Later,
we know-
We're going to reveal the
Okay.
picks on our podcast. Eric and I
That
are
means
going
I have to actually listen to yours?
Yes, you have to listen to ours.
I'm joking.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Yes.
I always listen to it.
Look, it'll move us up from about 6 to 7 listeners. We could use it.
Oh,
It's
right,
all
right.
good. Yeah, it's all
So
good.
you have the first pick.
Yes,
We
we
have
have the first
second.
pick.
You have third.
We have third,
We
you
have
have
fourth, and then reverse order
and then,
based
and
on
then reverse order
standings.
back. Right.
Yeah.
Jeff Sharon of the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, by the way. You should all listen to that. Go to his webpage.
Yes, thank
follow
you.
him on Twitter. All that stuff. He has
UCF
good articles
_
on his webpage.
Yep, UCF _ Banneret on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well. Just search Black and Gold Banneret. I am at Jeff _ Sharon on Twitter. Eric's at Eric Lopez Elo. Don't forget, Brian Murphy is also going to be writing for us this year, Spokes Murphy on Twitter. He and I have got a bunch of football preview articles that we're working on over the next couple weeks as we lead up to the opener against Florida International. It should be fun. Also, we're going to be starting our fall sports preview podcast. I interviewed Todd Dagenet yesterday, the head volleyball coach.
I talked to him last week.
Talked to him last. We also had the new men's soccer coach, Scott Calabrese, on, who was a joy to talk to.
Cool.
And hopefully we're going to have Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak as well. And yeah, we're going to be diving in like headlong. We're going to do also a series of articles that we call everything you need to know about whatever UCF fall sport in 2017. So if you want a little cliff notes of if you want to come out to men's soccer, women's soccer, volleyball, keep an eye out for that, and you'll know everything you need to know.
Cool.
Well, a friend of mine said, you guys are pretty chummy on Knightline with the Banneret. Why is that? You know, there was a
Because
time
we're
when
all nice to each other.
Well, there was a time when there
Why
was,
are they trying
you
to start a fight?
No, you
Yeah, I
couldn't.
don't
You
know.
couldn't get coverage of UCF,
Right.
and we knew what you get on local sports. And for as many sports radio stations as there are in this town, how often do they talk about UCF besides?
And
it's
it's not a competition.
No, it's not.
The more
I
coverage
mean,
of
you
UCF,
guys
the
can't
better.
compete with us anyway. So.
Whoa! Do we have a drum roll in there?
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it's all
That's-
good. It's all good.
I owe you guys a load of thanks because you had me on initially when I was working over at Sports Talk Florida, and you guys more or less gave me the idea to have our own podcast as well. And our shows serve different types of purposes for the average UCF fan. You guys approach it from one way. Eric and I approach it from another.
Absolutely.
And that's cool. I think that's good. If between the two of us, or the four of us, really, I think fans get the full perspective.
Absolutely.
It's not like it was like 10 years ago 12 years ago when I was a student here, when you guys were students. It was all about sports talk radio. We're seeing some erosion on that side, but this is what it's. I don't think it's erosion as much as it's just change, and it's change.
Right.
Migration to another format.
Right.
Yeah.
So the more that we all do, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, the fantasy challenge, the UCF.
That is a
fantasy,
little bit of
that's
competition.
serious business.
That's serious business,
that's
and we're going to
serious
whoop
business.
you guys
No,
on that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's not going to happen.
But it is. That is competition, but otherwise there is no competition. And people really did try to make it into something that it wasn't, and all that stuff. So
Right.
So some of the
Listen,
questions.
all your UCF people out there who are trying to make us fight, just calm down. Just enjoy it.
It's all good.
Don't
It's
ruin
all
a good thing.
Yeah, it's all good.
Now, some of the questions we didn't get to in the helmet really dovetail into Knights and the Pros, Andrew.
I
Because there were
really
some questions.
wanted these, by the way.
There were some questions about pros, and why don't you take a
Well,
look at what's going on?
Knights in the Pros this week. Blake Bortles, 8 of 13 for 65 yards, and booed in Jacksonville
and
at home.
his head coach, Doug Marone, basically said the quarterback competition's open.
Yep.
I think he's
So-
getting a raw deal. Now, he's not helping
He needs to-
himself. You can't
here's the
miss
deal.
wide open guys.
Right.
But
Did you see that clip of Allen Robinson in the scrimmage with the Buccaneers? He's open. Blake overthrows him.
Underthrew him, right?
No, he overthrew him, took the
Oh.
ball
in
out
the
of bounds.
in the
okay.
scrimmage,
And
yeah.
you
in
hear
the scrimmage.
Allen Robinson basically say, in no uncertain terms, and I will not use the actual language that he said, but he's like, "Man, keep the ball in bounds."
Wow.
And I saw that clip, and I was like, "Yeah, he's lost the huddle."
Hmm.
And it stinks because we know how talented Blake was at his best. I just think he needs a new setting.
He needs to start over.
He needs to get out of that toxic atmosphere in Jacksonville, go back someone up for 2 or 3 years, and then maybe down the line he gets a shot
And
at
he
starting
needs to go to a team, honestly, that will build a team around him or around somebody else that he can step into. I mean, what a horrible organization.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
they drop the ball left and right
If
all
there's
the
a
time.
team that's tanking like an NBA team this year, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Absolutely.
And Eric and I actually talked about on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, which you can listen to via iTunes,
Shameless
SoundCloud,
plug. Shameless plug.
Google Play, and now Stitcher.
He's continuing.
Is
But are you
we
live
thought
on YouTube?
right? No, but
Are you live from Burger U?
I don't
No.
have the budget for that.
We don't either.
No, wait a minute.
But we mentioned 2 potential landing points that we thought would be good. I want to know what you guys think for Blake Bortles. Eric said Arizona.
Old
Back
quarterback.
up under Carson Palmer, maybe 1 or 2 years. And Bruce Arians really liked him when he was coming out. Or I put out number 2, and I was, this wasn't even really serious, but I put it out there. New England.
No.
If they lose
No.
Jimmy Garoppolo, Blake goes up to New England, backs up Tom Brady. Who else better to learn under, right?
Oh,
Well,
I
know.
hate New England.
I
though.
know Andrew.
I
Me
hate
too.
New
I'm a
England.
Giants fan,
It's his-
but if he went to New England, I'd be pretty stoked.
It's his favorite team, but what about Kansas City? I know you'd say you'd like him, but how would he fit into that culture based on his skill
Well,
set?
and
Well, they
there's,
got Pat
there's
Mahomes
been
now.
Yeah, we got Pat Mahomes, so I don't see that happening. But there has been talk of maybe Jacksonville trying to get a quarterback in this season, so trading for somebody.
So trading, you saying like trading
And-
Alex Smith?
And Alex Smith has been, brought up in that conversation a couple times. That because Alex Smith's time in Kansas City is coming to an end quick because we have Pat Mahomes.
Well, there are a lot of teams that don't have good quarterbacks.
Incredible quarterback. I can't
That's
wait
true.
to see him.
Jets, 49ers. I mean, there's a long list of teams
But the
that do not
question,
have
but the question is, what do we want Blake to? What do we want his situation?
What about Miami?
They didn't go out and get Cutler
Interesting.
because they wanted Blake
Well,
Bortles.
how long are you gonna? Well, they have 2 questions. How long are you gonna stick with Ryan Tannehill now that he's been injured again badly.
Right.
I think you go
and
in
they
a
threw
new
all that
direction.
money at him, and then, how long? And then if not, how long are you going to have Jay Cutler for? 1 year, 2 years?
Yeah.
What do you do?
L.A. Chargers. You don't know how long Rivers is going to be around there.
Good point.
There's a couple teams.
There's a couple teams out there that,
Yeah.
He
All right.
needs to regain some confidence.
Yeah.
Moving on, and speaking of Miami, Storm Johnson, 5 carries for 4 yards. Not too great either. One of the things that we didn't mention here, Shaquille Griffin did really well the other night. Again, he is.
They really like him up in
They
Seattle
love
right
him
now.
in Seattle. The fans love him, of course, and the team absolutely loves him. And
I couldn't help but
very
watching
good
him,
job that he's
watching
doing.
a couple highlights up that they sent actually of some plays that he was making in camp. Like they showed some of the All-22 where he was making a couple plays downfield on Doug Baldwin. He looks exactly like Richard Sherman.
He does. He got beat a couple times the other night, but he didn't get beat deep. And
Right.
that's one of the biggest things, I think, for him. But he's doing a great job. And he was probably the corner that was out there the longest out of anybody. They're playing him, and he's, the other night, the first game that they played, he was up against Antonio Gates a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So and Antonio beat him a couple times, but who wouldn't?
But
he
Antonio
beat?
Gates is a 14-year veteran who's going to be in
and a
who's gonna
first
be in
ballot
Canton.
Hall of Famer, I'm
You know,
sure. So,
you're not the only guy who got beat by Antonio Gates. The question is, how much do you learn under Richard Sherman? Sherman's going to get expensive. His time in Seattle is probably going to be limited.
Sherman has completely taken him under his wing, and he's teaching him everything.
That's
so,
good to see. And
yeah.
what better defense to learn under than Pete Carroll's defense in
Absolutely.
Seattle?
I mean, just, Pete Carroll in general.
Yeah.
Having Pete Carroll as your first, NFL coach is
Right.
how unbelievable of a situation.
I would love to see more UCF guys head that way.
I
Shaquem.
think that's.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I think that is very possible.
That'd be
Very
cool.
possible. I think that they want those guys together again. So I think that they both want to be together again. So I would love to see that happen. Anyway. All right. Good luck to defensive lineman Lezer Douzable, who signed with San Francisco as well. Some Canadian football news, of course, CFL news. Brandon Alexander did not play because he was hurt. And
They're coming down the stretch in that season too, right?
it was game 7 or 8 this week, so they're getting there. It's been a great year for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who I'm a big fan of now because Brandon Alexander plays there.
And then Quincy McDuffie is out there too, right?
The Ottawa Red
Blacks. Yeah.
And then Terrence Plummer is up there in Toronto.
The Argonauts.
And Troy Davis is with the Argonauts as well.
And I think there was one. Joe Burnett, I think, is still.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Joe Burnett
Where did Joe
is.
land?
But anyway.
Was he Edmonton?
No, he's not in Edmonton.
No, not Edmonton.
I can't. I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry.
He's definitely playing.
Someone
though,
please
this
tweet it at us when they actually send it out. But Joe has put together a very good career in the CFL.
Oh, absolutely.
People forget, we think that it's only the NFL. Let me tell you something. As far as these guys are concerned, these are paying jobs.
Absolutely, and it's good football. I don't know if you've had a chance
It's fun
to watch
it.
It's on ESPN every week. Friday night is their big night. Friday night football. It's kind of like our Monday night football.
It gets me through the summer because sometimes you just need that fix.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
It's a different game, but it's fun to watch.
All right, Trace, what else do we have?
Well, believe it or not, while our first game isn't until August 31st, around the American, the season starts this coming Saturday, August 26th. For the Cows, they head west to San Jose State.
Yeah, early start out there.
August 26th for them.
And that game's on TV, right?
Everything's on
to
TV.
be yeah, everything.
Everything's on
true.
TV.
Yeah.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
All right. I guess, I forgot to load the news and notes music. It's the one thing that I totally forgot out of all this. All those clips and everything, and I forgot the news and notes music. So
that's all right.
We're just going to have to do these news and notes live, which is going to be
wing 'em.
This
is the part of the show that gets edited the most because there may be mistakes when we get to this point.
We're not going to edit this tonight.
Listen. You guys are all about the clean, perfectly clean production. We like to let our hair down a little bit. So when we're in the, so that's perfectly fine
That
with
is
me.
not
I like
the
it when we're
Andrew
just
Fagley
kinda,
style.
I love it when we're just kind of sit
not.
back and we're hanging out here, we're talking. It's a lot of fun. I like it this way.
All right, a week after extending several coaches' contracts, athletic director Danny White gets his own deal extended in an option to renew annually, spans 5 years, a base salary of around $525,000.
It's a little bit more than I make.
Not bad for
That's
a day's
awesome.
work.
Yep.
Women's soccer, I was out there today. They beat Stetson in the home opener 2-0. That followed a tough 2-0 loss at number 4 South Carolina on Friday. Big one coming up this coming Friday.
Oh, yeah.
When number 6 North Carolina, which is a powerhouse name in women's soccer, will be at the UCF Soccer Complex.
Listen, UCF fans, I don't care if you've never seen a soccer game in your life. You need to be here on campus for that game on Friday night. North Carolina is the New York Yankees of women's soccer in the college level. This is a huge game for Tiffany Roberts-Hadak and their program. The South Carolina game, I watched all 90 minutes. We played very well in that game.
Early red card in the first 15 minutes.
75 minutes of that game, we were playing a person down.
Yeah.
We were playing 10 on 11, and still stuck with it all the way through up until I think Carolina got a late goal at the end that basically wrapped it up. But this is a hard-nosed, aggressive team that is fun to watch. We scored them. I saw them score 5 goals in the exhibition against UNF. They got a lot of weapons, and we need a huge crowd against North Carolina here at home. Pretend if this is football, if we've got Florida coming to our house.
North
or
Carolina's
actually, no, I would say not Florida, Alabama.
North
Carolina women's soccer is like Alabama in football, except bigger and better.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how big North Carolina is.
Well, we're running short on time, so we need to run through the rest of these. Men's soccer beats Georgia Southern 1-0 Saturday to finish 2-0 in exhibitions. The Knights are projected 4th in the American with senior I knew you would do this. Pizzolo, yes.
Matias Puzzolo.
Recognized as the American Offensive Player of the Year.
Volleyball held its black and gold scrimmage Saturday. UCF projected for 5th in the American, so say the league's coaches. Cows 6th.
They're going to be better than that.
Kudos to first team selection, Kia Bright.
All right. Rowing welcomes another familiar face, 4-year member of the University of the see, this is where I would edit, because I'm trying to read these. Rowing welcomes a familiar face. 4-year member of the varsity squad, Rachel Klunder, is now an assistant coach and director of operations.
Another welcome, Ted Tom joins baseball head coach Greg Lovelady's staff as an assistant coach.
Ted Tom was the assistant at Cincinnati, actually took over as the interim head coach for 1 game at the end of the year after their coach resigned. So he's got plenty of coaching experience as well.
All right, cross country is out with its schedule. The season begins September 2nd when the Knights travel to Boca Raton for the FAU Invitational.
The American men's basketball tournament will head to Fort Worth, Texas from 2020 through 2022.
All right, my least favorite bowl of all the games. See you later, St. Petersburg Bowl, kind of. It's been renamed, and it's now the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Is that a horrible thing or what?
It is.
That's a horrible
Also,
thing.
mind you, a game promoting a lawnmower that will be played inside on artificial turf. And horrible artificial turf. Maybe they'll at least have to get new
They
turf
changed
for
that
this.
turf for the Rays, so it's better.
Yeah,
it's better.
But Bad Boy Mowers, mowers, if you haven't seen them, they're like the the jacked up 4x4 truck with the gold, with the silver rims and all the cool lights and stuff. Bad Boy Mowers are that of lawn mowers.
Do you own one of these?
I don't, but
okay.
I would if I had a big enough lawn to mow like that.
Hey, as long as we
they're not jacked up in 4-wheel drive, but they're cool.
Yeah, I don't care what it is, as long as the next time we go there we beat somebody.
Absolutely.
This next item isn't a preview of UCF's game at Maryland, but we had to make a mention of a discovery by UCF students, a 2-headed loggerhead turtle. You can see more of that on Twitter at UCF Turtle Lab.
But it's not a terrapin.
No.
Really? They found that here?
They found that.
Okay.
Where? In one of the lakes?
I guess so.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be heading anywhere near any of those.
2-headed loggerhead turtle.
Maybe some radiation going on there. And finally, classes begin at UCF on Monday. A big welcome back to a record-breaking 66,000 students. 66,000.
I'm getting old because when I started at UCF it was 17,000 students and grew to 27,000 in my 4 years.
My first year it was 38, and it bumped up to 50 in 4 years.
66,000.
Well, Jeff, it's been very fun. Trace,
It's been real.
Of course, it's awesome. So this was live from Burger U. We're going to be here after every home game, 30 minutes after the game, live on YouTube.
Thanks again to you guys for having us. I'm hoping that we can do this again some point. Maybe we can come on down.
Join us after the games.
Join you guys after the games. Talk
You're
about
welcome
it.
anytime.
You've got the third headset. Will be, you'll be able to sit in and talk to us. So it's not just the calls we'll take. It's folks that are here at Burger U. They'll be able to join in and comment on the game.
Absolutely. You're
Always
welcome
happy.
anytime.
Always a thrill to join you guys. I really appreciate you guys. And hit us up. I know that we'll be promoting a lot of the stuff that you guys do. And you can hit us up, of course, at UCF_Bannerhead on Twitter, and you guys at UCF Knightline. So.
All right. Well, this has been Knightline 119. I'm Andrew Fegley.
I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
With our spirits we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our knights will shine.